Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Return of the Obra Dinn. It's been a couple weeks since the last episode. I hope you all are enjoying this series so far. In the interim, I spent some time, I went around and checked out some of the different vignettes and tried to pull some information together and see if we could identify anyone else that we haven't identified thus far. And actually I was able to piece a couple together. I have looks like got some notes here. Got about looks like 7 names or so that I was able to identify above and beyond what we've seen so far. So let's run through those, and then I found a couple things to look at as well, and we'll check some of those out as we go along here. So let's see. Okay. So if we, where do I start here? Okay. Me apologize. Like I said, it's been a couple weeks since the last time I played, so I'm kind of getting back into the swing of things here. Okay, so let's start here.
Let me on. Over my dead body, you bloody Dane. Huh? How's that?
There's no cause for trouble, boys. Get in the boat.
Thought I'd forget. You killed my brother. What? That was an accident. The ropes.
It wasn't his fault. I saw the whole thing.
Lies. I shouldn't have waited so long.
No, don't.
Alright, so this little vignette, there's a lot of information we can actually glean here. So if we look at our transcript, the man that died here is this guy, right? And the guy he's talking to, the guy that killed him, the guy with the club, is calling him a Dane. Now from that, and it looks like I might have already figured this out. Oh, come on, how do I get to the, there we go. If we look at the crew manifest, we can see that only one man is from Denmark, and that's Lars Lind. So we already knew that. But we can actually go a step further. This man that is killing Lars, let me see. I want to go to, oh, come on. I don't remember how to control this. Yeah, here. He blames Lars for killing his brother. Now, if we go back and we look at the ship, whoops. We go back and look at the crew manifest again. And we look for people with the same last names. And there's only a couple. We have the captain and his wife, Witterell. Here and here. And I believe the only other duplicate name is, oh, where is it? Nathan Peters and Samuel Peters. And both of these men are seamen. Now, if we look at the glossary, we can see that a seaman, low-level crew member responsible for general manual labor on and below deck. So they're just your general crew member. So I posit that this man is either Nathan or Samuel Peters. This is in chapter 7. So somewhere in the first 6 chapters, his brother, either the other of Nathan or Samuel, died, presumably while working with Lars. Now, we have not seen that happen anywhere. So we can't actually identify which of the two brothers this is, but we know it's one of those two. Let's see. Yep, okay. Yes, that makes sense. So, the next note that I have here. So that's something that we should keep in mind going forward. Now, if I go to... During shipment. Okay. So the next one I want to look at is down here. And I apologize for kind of the scattered process here. I put together these notes shortly after recording the previous episode, and then, as I mentioned, it's been a few weeks since I recorded that, so how my trains of thought are a little rusty. We want to go to the midshipman's room, which is right in front of me here. Oh yes, this man. So if we listen to the caption at the beginning of this vignette...
Oh no, you're cut.
Don't leave me.
Bear up, son. I'll stay with you.
Tell Pete's mother I tried my best
Aye.
to pull him back, to save him.
You tell her yourself. Brennan, bring the surgeon's kit.
Okay. So, this man is... Do we know who this is yet? This is our first mate, William Hoskin. Now, he's calling out for a man named Brennan. And if we go back to our ship's log, we can see that Brennan is... Who is Brennan? Henry Brennan is a seaman. Now, as I was walking around, I noticed, if we come over here, this man is holding up his ear. Now, we've met this man many, many, many times. This is Hat Guy. My theory is that since he's calling out the name and this guy's listening, that this is Henry Brennan. It's not a lot to go on, but it's something. So let's go ahead and call this guy Henry Brennan. Okay. So we have Henry Brennan. Okay. The next man that I want to look at is on page 59. Let's see, where is this one? It is on the second floor. This one, yes.
What's going on?
Stay back. It's already going to the neck.
Hey, come on, boss. No, get there. Hey, cat!
Okay. Now, this man, we don't know, and we don't have enough information to know. But if we look at the caption, we can see that some other guy is mentioning in here that the spider creatures have already killed Nick. Now this vignette here is Soldiers of the Sea Part 3. And as far as we know, the spiders, if we go back... Let's see, I think we can follow these in reverse. Come on. So if we look at Spiders of the Sea Part 2, or Soldiers of the Sea Part 2, rather.
What is it?
So this man has been killed by the spiders. And this man was seemingly killed by this spider. But we'll see in a second that that's not necessarily the case. So as of right now, this man here is the only man that's actually been killed by a spider. And if we go back and verify that this man was not killed by a spider, we can look at his death in part 1 of Soldiers of the Sea. We see this man was actually struck by lightning, and I believe we marked that as electrocuted. Now if we come down here, this man here is the man that's about to get killed by this spider. So, what we know is that in Soldiers of the Sea Part 3, we are told that the spiders have already killed Nick. And to that end, we've seen that by that part, only one man has actually died. This guy. And I don't know if I can see him from here. But we can go back. We can go back to part 2. I don't remember what part 2. We can go back to part 2 and note him down.
What's going on? Stay back.
So, from that, we know a couple things.
What is it?
We know that this man was on the rigging before he died, and at this point is the only person to have died to the spiders, which suggests that this guy is named Nick. And if we look at the crew manifest, only, I believe, Topman. If we look at the glossary and look at Topman, higher rated seamen specializing in work above the deck in the sails and rigging. So the Topmen are the people that are in the rigging. And so we know that this guy is a topman named Nick. So all of our topmen is here, and there is only one Nicholas who is a topman. So this is Nicholas Botterill. Okay. Now, the next one is a big one. So that's two of the men that I was able to identify. Let's go down and look at a rather unlikely vignette. We're actually going to look at this one.
Take it to the cockpit.
Hit her here. One swing. Get through the skull in stone or brain. I'll cut her throat when you've done it.
Here?
Yeah. Come on before she kicks up. You all right there, sir?
Never been on a farm, chap?
Mind your shoes now.
Okay. Now, none of the actual crewmen died in this image, and this is from before everything started going crazy. This is very early on. This is chapter 2. But I believe we are actually able to identify all 4 of these men. Now, I believe that these, if we look here, we have this man. Now, this guy is our butcher. We have this man standing in front of the wheel. We have this man standing next to him, and this man standing next to him. So we're talking about these 3 guys here. And if we look at where we are on the boat, we're right here in front of the starboard walk. Now, if I look at the glossary, so let me back up. So we have these 3 men, and we're trying to figure out who they are. And we know that one of them is named Charlie, right? So how many Charlies are there? We have a Charles Minor, the bosun's mate, who is French. We have potentially a Christian Wolf, who is a gunner from Austria. And if we look at, let's see, hold, if we, when we were listening to the captions, this man did not have any particular accent. So I doubt he is either French or Austrian. So let's see if there's any other Charlies. Identify Christian Wolf. Here's a Charles Herstick, who is a midshipman. And that's it. So this man is probably Charles Herstick. But let's hold on a minute before we confirm that. The question is, what is a midshipman? So we can go to our glossary and look at midshipman. We see that a midshipman is an officer in training, assists various officers and tradesmen in order to learn ship operations, usually of privileged status. Now, this is of particular note because we saw that the butcher referred to this man as Sir, which, if he were an underling, would be a little strange, but the privileged status explains that. It also suggests that he is in training and so is being taught to do things, which holds to this as well. Assists various officers and tradesmen would explain why he's helping the butcher. Further, we can carry that along to these men are helping the butcher as well. And if we look at the crew manifest along with Charles Herstick, there are only 3 midshipmen. So I posit that these 3 other men besides the butcher are the 3 midshipmen. And we know that this one of those 3 is Charles. So we can go ahead and mark him as Charles Herstick, the midshipman. Oh. 3 more fates correct. Who did we get right? We got Charles Herstick. Excellent. We got Nicholas Botterill. And Henry Brennan. Awesome. Excellent. All right. So now let's talk about these other 2 men. So I believe that these 2 other men are both of the other 2 midshipmen. Peter Milroy and Thomas Lank. The question is, which one is which? Okay. So the question, which of these two is which? Which one is Peter and which one is Thomas? Now, if we look at the caption on page 117, which we looked at previously, this is the man who got stabbed in the midshipman's room. He says to tell Pete's mother that he tried his best to pull him back to save him. Which suggests that this man who got stabbed in the midshipman's quarters is not Pete. So, what we can do is we can go back to that vignette and see which of these men, if either, that is. And if he is one of our two midshipmen, we know that it is Thomas.
Oh, no.
And look at that. This is one of our two remaining midshipmen. He is not Pete. I guess the possible catch there is that if there is another Pete other than our midshipman, he could be talking about that person. So let's check that. Are there any other Petes? Here's Peter Milroy. Are there any other Petes in the crew? And the answer is no, there's not. So we know that this man is not Peter Milroy, but instead is Thomas Lank. Right? Yes, because we identified these three men as our midshipmen. So this is Thomas Lank. Which means that this man, our third midshipman, must be the only remaining midshipman, Peter Milroy. All right. So, let's see. So we've got these three men. He was stabbed. He was knifed by an unknown attacker.
Don't leave me.
Bear up, son.
But I
I'll
don't
stay
think
with
we know who that is
Tell
yet.
Pete's mother I tried my best
you. Aye.
to pull him back to save him.
You tell her yourself. Brennan! Bring the surgeon's kit!
Okay. Now, the other two that I have identified if we go up here and we look at P109. What is page 109? I believe that's this one.
Last one. Move quick. You'll not take the last push. Down.
All right. So let's jump back to this one. So one thing we can note by looking at these pictures of the crew is that there are exactly 3 women on board. We have the captain's wife, Abigail, and these 2 women here. Now, if we look at the crew manifest, we can see that there are only 3 female names. We have Abigail, who we've already identified. We have an Emily Jackson and a Miss Janebird. So, from that, we can deduce that these two women must be Emily Jackson and Miss Jane Bird. The question is, which one is which? And what happened to them? And we can see both of these women are here. There's one down there. That lady. And here's the other lady. Now, it took me a long time to figure these out, but this woman has a ring on her finger, very, very clearly. And so, since we have an Emily Jackson and a Miss Jane Bird, and Miss is typically reserved for unmarried women, I deduce that this woman is not Miss Jane Bird because she's clearly married, which means she must be Emily Jackson. Which makes this woman down here Miss Jane Bird. Now the question is, what happened to these women? So here's what we know. We know they were attempting to escape, and that this man was stabbed as they are trying to escape. This man being the first mate steward, Paul Moss. So they're trying to escape. Now, which, let's see, I've forgotten which chapter this is. Let's see.
Last one.
Oh, the escape. The escape part 2. And then we can look at the escape part 3, which I believe is the corpse right next to him here. And we're looking to see what happens to that boat. So they're being lowered down. She shoots this man. So our Emily Jackson shoots this man as they're trying to escape. Then we can go to escape part 4. It appears that they were able to successfully escape. So the escape part 4 is one of these men, I think. Escape part 4. So let's come up here. So these men are no longer interested in the boat. He's flipping that body over. It appears that Emily Jackson and Miss Jane Bird have escaped. So, to that end, let's back up a little bit. So they have seemingly escaped. Now, the question is, what happened to them? Well, my theory is, if we look at the ship, we know the steering wheel of the ship is here and the helm of the ship is here. So this boat is being lowered off the left side of the ship. Yes? So if we come back here and we look at the journey of the ship, we can see that the escape happens here and that they are traveling to the north. So if they left off the left side of the ship, presuming that they didn't cross back over the ship's path, and they sailed straight out, in theory they would end up in Azores. So, let's go with the assumption that they are alive in Azores. So we can go to the crew, and we are going to assume that both of these women are alive in Azores. Yes, their lifeboat may have sunk or something else may have happened, but we have zero information to provide to suggest that. Now, there is one other piece of information that we've gathered. This man here, we have identified as our surgeon, Henry Evans, but we didn't know what happened to him. Well, he seems to be on the boat with the two women, so we can assume that he too is alive on the Azores. Now, my current theory is that I may be wrong about this, because at this point, we have 3 more people in fate combinations, and between those two and wherever our surgeon went. And it has not marked them as complete. So very likely I either have some combination of their identities wrong, or perhaps that was not their fate. We just say like unknown or left. Eaten, crushed, clawed, burned. No. Okay. So very likely I am wrong about one or more of those, but that is the information we're currently going with. So we will see as we proceed what else comes to light. All right. So that is all of the names and fate information that I was able to deduce. There is some more information or some more things I found that I would like to go through, but we are out of time for this episode, so we will tackle that in the next episode. I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you're enjoying this series. Leave a like or a comment. It helps me out, lets me know you're enjoying this and that you would like to see more. So hope you're enjoying the series, and I will see you all next time.